It's widely known that ObjectStudio already has a native GUI that is mostly implemented in C, and that aggravates most of the customers because they, once in a while, when they're debugging something in the GUI code, they run into a primitive, which is sort of a black box for them. They cannot change it. They have no idea what happens in there, what flags are used, anything that we might be doing wrong. It might be just something small that they can implement themselves. But they cannot access it. I mean, they don't have access to the source code most of the time, and even if there is a whole development environment problem with compilers and everything that you don't want to get into if you're working with Smalltalk. So, the overview of this talk is that first talk about the intention and goal project. Some Windows definitions, so welcome to Windows 101. Architectural overview, what we are doing right now, and how it's done. Announcements, we are using announcements here, and finally a class called test UI, which is something very special about the project that I need to show it out. Alright, intentions and goals. The current ObjectStudio UI is getting outdated, or having a dated look, started the implementation in 95 for Windows 95. The look and feels of the individual widgets got updated several times over the several releases of Windows and Microsoft, but we didn't really keep pace in some of the times. So this is our chance to get the latest and greatest into the product. Eliminate primitives, as I said already. Those primitives are aggravating for our customers. Not just for them, but also for us, because we need to switch development environments, we need to switch hats from Smalltalk to C, and it will happen more often than not that I ended the statement in a C class or in a C function with a period instead of a semicolon. Yeah, try to find that, and when you're wearing your Smalltalk hat and trying to put that on, it's like it's the same thing. No, it's not. So easy to maintain and extend, especially for us. The framework is supposed to be easy to maintain, also for the customers that they can write their own widgets, and also for us to deliver a fix quickly without doing a whole rebuild and sending out the alerts. So I have to go into some Windows definitions. I think when I look through that, most of the people here know most of the have worked on Windows, are working on Windows, and know pretty much the way around it. But just in case, so again, welcome to Windows 101. Window classes. They're not really classes like in the traditional Smalltalk sense. They're basically types of windows themselves that have a common icon, a common window procedure, a common behavior, so that you need to create, you need to tell Windows that your class exists here in order before you can actually use it, before you can actually call here. All of those classes that you register are usually process specific, which means that if you register a class in one process, another process cannot just steal type, but you have to implement your own. Window procedure is this nice piece of code that it's a callback that you register while you're defining the new window class. That gets called every single time a Windows event comes in for this particular window. So Windows itself basically dispatches the events to the different windows, and whatever comes in is for this particular window in this case, so you already know basically who the receiver is. The behavior of the window, of the control, the widget itself, all of the widgets by definition are windows. The behavior depends on how to react to those different messages coming from Windows. Most of the messages have their own their own set of additional messages that they reply, that they respond to. Especially list view or some controls like rich edit have a couple of pages of new additional methods or messages that they understand and that they expect, and that's basically their functionality, how they implement it. Window messages, they come in through the window procedure, I already said that. They are just basically numbers, and you get parameters with it that could be anything. It can be mouse coordinates, can be pointed to a structure, can be pointed to a callback, can be pretty much anything, but there's a standard how to pass all this stuff. So the window messages coming in have a very standard structure, and depending on the message, that's how we interpret those parameters, and that's also what we need to know here. All right, now back into Smalltalk, at least part of it. Architectural overview. I'm going to talk about the class UI view, which is the superclass for all of the new classes that we have in here. It's a superclass to something like a transparent window, the child window, and the UI control, which in itself is a superclass for all of the controls that we have, like an edit field, list view, tree view, whatever. I'm shortly going to talk about Windows GUI, and then go over to this GUI Plus and maybe what the differences are here. So UI view is the main class. It defines, it registers the class, how it should look like, what is the icon, what is the callback mechanism. And that's the first step that we do. The window procedure I'm going to talk about, and then the message map, which is the key element, or the two key elements here. And then I'm going to show you the private grade, where the window finally is graded. So register class, what does it look like? I hope you can see something from down there. Very good, excellent, thank you. So it's basically a structure that we fill out with all the necessary information, like what is what's the name, what are the default and standard flags, and there's a background brush handle, so standard background and stuff like that. Everything is passed into a structure and then finally wrapped and shipped off to Windows, and we get a nice little number for it, like thank you very much, here's your token. Something, as I said, that we need to do here, so you don't have to do that. The window procedure here, there are debates and hundreds of debates how to structure a window procedure. This is the way that I'm doing it so far. So we find the window in our registry. We look up the message map first on a per instance basis, which means that every instance of a control can have their own message map, meaning you can override or you can change the standard behavior for every instance. So if you have a GUI builder and this instance of the edit control is not supposed to direct to mouse clicks or so on, you can disable the message right here. It's not just for your edit control, it's for other things as well that you have. First we check the local message map. If that one doesn't exist, well, we always have a global message map that maps the, as it says, message map maps the message that comes in to a Smalltalk symbol that we're going to execute. We find the symbol, we execute it with those parameters. We don't find the symbol, we just pass it on to the Windows standard procedure, and that's how we are probably not interested in that anyway. The message map. So we support, we are right now subscribing to about 800 Windows events, which we may or may not be interested in, it depends on the widget itself. The nice thing about it is, if you want to extend it and you're interested in different Windows events, feel free to go ahead. In implementing this stuff in C, would make this message map basically useless. You wouldn't be able to change it, but here you can add it and subtract it as much as you like, which means that either we find it or we don't find it. If we find it, that's great, and we perform the symbol. If we don't find it, then we just send it on to the Windows default procedure. Now, the private create is where the main central function is called the create window X. So we have the extended style, we have the standard style, again per instance basis, so that each window has the same class from Windows, but has a different background, has different styles, has a different look and feel. We give it a size, position, everything that you need for Windows to create the window by itself. And that's basically for every control, for every window that we are using throughout the entire system. Child window, superclass for all child windows that are not main windows. We know what child windows are. And we have classes like the tab page, things like a draw pad, and in the image display. And I come into those classes during the demo. The UI control, as I said, is the superclass for all controls and the widgets. Controls throughout the entire system. Some of them are some classes, they're the tree view, list view, button, edit control, but there are actually many more. And during the video you will see that when I scroll through the test class, for every class we have implemented a test script basically. You see that there are actually 100 if not more of those classes, of those widgets available to you. Windows GUI is the standard interface to draw stuff on the screen. Windows uses it internally, and everybody who was dealing with Windows should be familiar with names like device contacts, brush, pen, and so forth. I mean, it's a pretty standard way. It's deprecated. Shouldn't use standard Windows GUI anymore for new applications. So we decided to go one step further, which is the GUI Plus subsystem, but that's C++ implementation of the device interface, basically. So here we have it. It adds a lot of stuff that you were missing in Windows, or before Windows XP actually. Stuff like the anti-aliasing, floating point coordinates, gradient shadings, complex mask management, something that I always wanted to have, like JPEG and PNG support, without me writing the decoder or encoder. So the base for this GUI Plus implementation, as I said, the C++ implementation, is a flat API. We found it by accident, so we don't have to go through all the C++, but we can hook up the C interface directly and make our own classes out of it. It's not, I have to tell you, it's not a high-speed 2D rendering framework, so you're not playing any games with it. That's what Direct 2D is for, but Direct 2D starts with Windows 7, or actually it starts with Windows Vista, but nobody uses Windows Vista, so actually it starts with Windows 7. Most of the business applications out there are still using Windows XP. So right now we are sort of limited to this GUI Plus implementation, which it says it's not high speed. Well, rendering about 60,000 glyphs per second should be even enough for a speed reader to read, versus the 100,000 glyphs per second that you render when you use the standard GUI implementation. So fast is relative here. So business application is fine. If you want to implement Paint, that's fine. If you want to implement a first-person shooter, not so much, maybe. So we use that one in. the bitmap display, image display, draw pad for charts, and other things actually. And soon to be used in things like the modeling and the mapping tool. And Arden, at least, was already talking about things that we did during the conference here, and what we dragged him out of his nice little chats that he had. And Dirk is the main architect for the modeling and the mapping tool, so he's not really happy with the user interface of the mapping tool that we had. And he said, well, using these things, can we make the mapping tool different? Well, we started yesterday. So we're using announcements. I was happy to read announcements earlier this week, actually on Monday. BA said that they now supporting announcements. Now we are going to switch over from the old trigger event system using announcements throughout the entire system. We're using exception handling already throughout the system, so we didn't mention it, but we are switching over to the announcements. And so far, it has proven stable enough, fast. I mean, the speed is quite good, it's really great. And all the change update mechanisms. You can set the context with it, you can set the value with it, and that's, I think, is a huge benefit that we're having here. Class test UI, I have to actually say a few words about that, because we are in the preview mode, alpha mode, so to speak, and every ObjectStudio user or customer, every Visualworks customer, when you get the next release of Cincom Smalltalk, you're getting a preview version of the new GUI with it. You get this test UI class with it as well. By itself, it's just it's implemented as a single, so there's one single instance throughout the entire system. It's not object-oriented. Really, it's basically just a collection of workspace scripts that pop up that I use for testing the individual UI. And you will see throughout the demo that you cannot run this test UI. It basically is just a container for workspace script to open a window, to add a button to it, to react to button keys. Close the window. Open the window to add an edit control, do something with it, close the window. Open the window for a list view, for a tree view. I think you get the idea here. So execute it line by line on the class side will give you the experience and allows you to individually select actions that you want this item, this window, to behave and to execute. So execute line by line, otherwise it will open up, do something, close, and you haven't seen anything. So now to some of the controls in the widgets. Let's see how that works here. So we have the test UI, and I have to, where is it? Here? No, there. Oh, unfortunately, I don't see it on the screen. So, as I said, you select and execute it, so there's the test button. Nothing to write home about it, it's just a button. Well, it was the first widget that I've implemented because button is the easiest one that we have. Bitmap button just adds a new adds a widget, adds a bitmap to it or an icon. So you can have bitmap and test here at the same time. Just want to show all the regular stuff already works. Checkbox. Again, also something that we can use. All the stuff you can use the UI skin. You can use the skin. The command line here is something that you probably see when you switch networks, and it asks you to, is it a home network or a network for a private network? That's the command button. Here is the hotkey, which is an element that I haven't found before. It allows you to just press a key combination. It shows you the key combination right there, and it allows you basically to write nice little tools out there to assign hotkeys and shortcuts to your product. So what I'm scrolling there over here, I have a play window that I cannot really show right now. It's Dirk showing in a few minutes. But I want to show you the rich edit control. And there, it's a longer, so I display the text. And here is some color coding in the text. It's basically a text editor that we can get from Windows. It's not as good as the Scintilla, or a little more basic, but it's the basis for Scintilla. It also supports left to right, right to left, IB support, and all kinds of stuff. So you see that we can move all kinds of formatting with it. So next thing, syslink. Just nothing. Just you can add an anchor HTML code in your button, and it basically takes you right there if you click on this hyperlink. Transparent window. Yeah, shows by itself. Transparency, you can set what the transparency is from 0 to 255, and you're good. Balloon tooltip is something that we didn't have for only the regular size tooltip. You can even add a link to it with a hyperlink. Display bitmap. Here, it actually renders. This is using GUI+, and the rendering of the bitmaps is about 10 times better than with the regular standard bitmap in Windows and the standard API that you have. So, date picker. This one actually uses the up and down buttons that you can configure, but yeah, it's only limited by the API that we get from Microsoft here. Here, month, date, whatever, and you get a date object out of it. Here we get a datetime picker that actually implements the calendar object here. So you can move the calendar around. Again, nothing too special, but it's implemented the new UI. Dialog, here's the draw pad. Again, GUI+, where we can use the anti-aliasing. So this is real time. We can draw not just one, but hundreds of arrows, rectangles. Here we have a double-headed arrow with different styles. You probably noticed that one. Rounded rectangle with rounded edges here, and a different border. You will see that now I should be picking it up and move it around. Exactly. So you can move it around. And what you see is that it preserves the order of the objects that we are having here. We can bring it to front, bring it to the back, but right now it just preserves the order that it was painted in. And of course we can just put in any shapes, but also render some text here. That was the 2013. And of course, this can move around as well. So, and that's something that we're going to show, we're going to use for the mapping tool we like to use. That's what it said. We just started yesterday. File dialogs, file save dialogs, find dialogs, headers, horizontal view, movable border is something that I like because it shows the speed. I mean, again, real time, event handling, so when the mouse moves, both of them get the update, and updates are announcement framework, and works just fine. Here, those are JPEGs that are about 2-3 megabytes in size, and they scale. So I can scale them down to the size of the controller or the window, and if I mill it out, it's just empty again. Doesn't just work with JPEG files, but also with PNG files. Here's the calendar on its own. The specialty here is it's a MS, so multi-select calendar, and you can select a certain date. Here the selection count I'm setting to 9, so we have a maximum set that we can do here, and it's selecting a maximum of 9 days here. Print dialog. Rebar is something that we didn't have before, where you can actually put in other widgets on top of a toolbar-like image. So this is standing in the profile. That was replace dialog, tab, or status bar is the next thing. Just regular status bar, you can put in your text in, it just resizes it with the standard window, update it, execute, boom, and there it is. So it really works in this one. Also, again, it resizes. Tab, don't change, don't save that. The tab control, we now support it with widgets, with icons. The icons here is 32 by 32, regular icons could be 16 by 16. It's up to you. If you like the big tabs, go ahead. It really is up to you what size that you're using here. You see the tracker, the tree view. Dirk is going to show you again. Vertical scroll bar, and that I believe was the end of the demo so far. I want to lead over to my colleague, to Dirk, because I'm writing the base and just enable him to make beautiful images. So, Dirk, please.
Thank you. So as you can see, I'm a big supporter and fan of this project. Being probably the biggest one and also probably the first user of this stuff. Being a developer on more method tool, I encountered the problem of, or the limits of the current API every day on a daily basis. So I really look forward to this one. We saw progress of Andreas' test UI. And so he was having lots of fun with the CC and so on. But we wondered how we could use this, whether this was really usable in an application. Can we build real windows with it? What's the speed? How easy is it to use it? So we decided for this presentation to do a comparison between the old and the new. But when we started with it, we noticed, hey, we're missing stuff like formatting in list views. How can we do that? And so there was an interaction between the two of us, and we noticed we could actually quite quickly do changes to list views and so on, do formatting, conditional formatting, and so on. So we decided to drop this comparison and focus on doing new stuff, which we can later use in the basis for the new framework. So I will be showing two movies. The first one will be about a remake actually of the launch we did last year with Arden about the Innovation Fitness Center. It will mostly be based on list views and possibilities around that. I will then discuss some of the code, quickly show some of the code we used for this. And the second demo will probably attract more interest because it's about whiskey. And I have this huge database with all kinds of whiskies because it's a hobby of mine. And I created a tree view with that. And I want to show you how the tree view works, what the possibilities are of the tree view. So I start the first demo. So the first thing you see here is on top there is a bitmap, transparent bitmap. That was impossible before. We had to use a button, put a bitmap on it, and then disable the button. So this is a lot of progress already. The second thing is the class list view. These are the current classes being held. And you see we have different fonts for the first and second column. And we have alignments, different alignments. We have center alignments, we have right alignments. For the required people, registered people, for the outs, we have a left alignment. So all this works. We can sort ascending, descending on the value of the column. And for the hours, we can value on a calculated value because it has no use sorting on the displayed value for the hours. When we select the class, you will see that we update the bottom part of the screen. The first thing is a disabled entry field where we can change the font and so on. Then we have a multi-line list or a multi-line text. And as you see, as we change it, the vertical scroll bar becomes enabled or disabled automatically. The second list is a participant list, where we have conditional formatting. If it's a mail, we color the text blue. If it's a female, we make it red. And then the last list here is the coming courses, where we show horizontal and vertical scroll bars available, which is done automatically if the size is needed. Then we have an entries list box, where we set in front an icon, again to show whether a female or a male has entered the club. And if we select a person, you will see that a JPEG or a PNG is appearing. This was also impossible before we had to use bitmaps. We couldn't render any other pictures. You also see that it does automatic resizing. Maybe not always positive, but at least we do it. And then last but not least, we can simply pick up a person, drag it around and drop it on a class to register in for a certain class. So we implement drag and drop at the same time. We can do it the other way around as well. So that's it for the first movie. Now how did we do it? Okay. So to open a window, we simply have used these methods. The open initialization and the post initialization are simply hookups. You don't have to do anything with it to initialize before you start opening or building the UI. Post open initialization is if you want to do something afterwards. The build widget window creates the main window. With add widgets, we build the widgets on top of the main window. We can initialize the widgets and then we set up announcements. So that's the way it's being built. For the build window, we create an instance variable main window, which we assign a UI view new. And the main things you have to do in your subclass for the window is set your position, your extents, which are points, and the title, which is a text. The rest is being built for you and it displays the windows shown. Now to add a widget, we use the same format every time. I've taken the example of the button. We do an add class rect options form, and we first assign an identifier. We tell it the class, we give it a rectangle, which is the position and the extent. We can assign options. If you don't assign options, you use the default window style, the X style, and we tell them on which form we want the widget to be displayed. And for a button, we can assign text right away. In this case, register. Sorry. Yeah. The list view is identical. So you add the identifier, the class, the rectangle, but here we assign an extra style. When we started working with it, we noticed that the list view, for example, with the default style that Andreas had defined in this test, that the selection didn't show. Well, it showed the selection, but when you exited the window and you came back, the selection was gone. You didn't see it anymore. So that was solved with the LVS show cell always. So we can change the style, the X style, to these options, and we have it on the main form. The widget that is being returned, we can then set additional options like the full row select and the lower track row. So it's actually quite easy, it's always the same. Now for the column layout, we introduced an UI list view layout. Probably the name will change over time. So the simplest way we can do is actually we give each column a layout view. So we assign it a title, we assign it an access path, which can be a symbol, an array of symbols, or a block. We assign it a width, and we give it an alignment. If you don't give an alignment, it's aligned left. This is what's used, for example, for bidding structure. If you now look at the hours column, you see that the access path is different because we only use the symbol. This is the method sent to the object. And we also have a sort access path. This is used if we click the column header. these methods are used to do the sorting for us. If we don't assign sort access path, the normal access path is used. Then we have the image list in front of the list view. So you need to assign an image list, which is a zero-based index of lists of images of the same size, and which is then transferred to the list view itself. And to show the correct image, we have an image part, which is a block. And we do, for example, here we check whether the member is a male. If it's true, we give it a 0, because that's the first item we added. And a 1 for a female, which was the second item. Remember, it's 0-based, so we needed to change that for now. Then assigning a font. Again, you see here that we have the access box now, an array of messages. And we assign formats, which is a GUI control, which get a font with a type and a bullet point size, a text column, and a background color. Now, the most complex one, we get it for last, it's the conditional formatting. Here we assign a format in the form of an identity dictionary. Yes. So we have a male format, female format. We assign it to the formats, and then we have a decision blocks, which will return a symbol that should be used for the format. If we now initialize a widget, is very simple. Take the widget, assign a text, for example, for an entry field. An image field, we simply supply the file name, and the update is being done. The list view is a bit more complex. We fetch the rows of the database, and then we tell the widget we want a detailed view, which is the rows and columns. We give it the image list, we give it the layout for the columns, we give it the objects. All the rest is done by the list view itself. Announcements. It's actually quite simple. You tell the widgets which announcement to expect and what message should be executed. We have the same one for the entries, which is the widget on the top right. So now I want you to show you the last movie. So I've called it the Whiskey Encyclopedia. It shows the possibilities of the tree view. And you will see as we hover over the text of the tree view, the text format changes. So we can do that without any problems. We get a list of countries that produce whiskey now. If we select, for example, the Netherlands, we see there's only one region within the Netherlands. We don't care about that. So we expand the Netherlands. We see the brands they have. And you also see that the vertical scroll bar pops up and disappears. If we select the brand, we see the bottles that we made there, or the type of bottle that we made there. It's a normal list view, we can click on it. We can open this one, we see the bottle that's being produced there. It's a blue icon because it's a liquor or a grain whiskey. Now, if you look at Scotland, we see that we have multiple regions. And so we will show under Scotland the regions of this country. We didn't do this for the Netherlands. So it's simply to show we can have different build-ups of the tree view depending on the data available. If we now select, for example, one of the regions, you see that the icon in front changes. This is also something we can do quite easily. We will now expand one of the regions. You can select the brand and you will see all the bottles produced for this one. This one was made for Belgium, 25 years old, 35.2% alcohol by volume, and distilled in 1985. And if we open it, we see the bottles again. We can click on the bottle, and you see we can show a picture of the bottle, additional information. It can be transparent, non-transparent. And we simply supply the file name, the rest is being done by us. So it goes really quickly. And these pictures are all about 3 megabytes, so I think performance is okay. The last thing I want to show you, if you go to the top, I have an entry field with some special text, also to test. It contains a movie, an API, and we can play that. You don't hear the audio because the software we use to record the audio, but in the live demo you would hear the audio. This is actually to show how flexible the framework is, because actually I asked this one to Andreas, can I show a movie? I said, no, this is not possible. It was on a Friday evening. I said, I will look at it one day, maybe I can show him something, and he actually did this. And on Friday even, and 2 hours later I received an email, try the latest package, try this class, it should work. Indeed it worked. And that's the end of my demo.
If you have more information, we are here the whole week. So, in case you want to know more, you can talk to us or to our Thomas or Seth Workman. And thank you very much. Any questions?
The windows that are being generated in the display, those are windows that are part of the running application.
Yes.
And you have the full range of introspection into those windows.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They are native window, first class window in Windows. George?
Just a question. You said that you are planning to revamp the mapping frameworks, the mapping tools.
The mapping can. Yes.
Yeah. And you say you are planning to do using the GUI stuff.
Yes.
I have a question. Since that in Smalltalk, VisualWorks, the common base, there are a lot of graphics frameworks, GST between the other, or you can see Rostol or something like that. And I see that people like MetaCase did a beautiful works using GFT and Expensive. I ask why don't take what we already have, improve it, eventually move that using the announcement and use it for doing the framework, so we can have a nice framework for graphics in all the two environments, not just something that works on the object of side. So you have if you use CTI, we cannot use the middle ones. If you improve what we have in GFST or something like that, and you can do something quite good, because the MetaCase guys did something really good. You can use a standard framework, so that is available to all the customers of digital of Cincom. Sorry, I will like digital, yes, but it's gone one time.
Okay. ObjectStudio is the Windows-based and Windows-centric.
Yeah, but so you can't use in ObjectStudio the framework. This is something I don't know, because I remember
you need ObjectStudio to create a mapping, eventually a model. You can use the code in VisualWorks without a problem.
So
yeah, but
once you create your you get ObjectStudio together with VisualWorks.
But you can work if you make something based on GDI. It could work in Linux. It cannot work in OS X. So
here, I mean, the GDI Plus framework has some benefits that we think outweigh the cons of not using it in this case. As I said, the speed is one thing, where it's slower than that. But again, all the anti-aliasing, all the stuff that we can do there.
It's doing something for one piece of the platform. That's I don't know if there are very. I know, but if you can make it something more token that can run there, you can add on what platform. So what I don't know if you can use drawings done for VisualWorks